Welcome to Real Estate Rewind, the podcast that takes you back to where it all started. Nick Baldwin talks to top producers from all levels and brokerages in real estate about how they built the businesses they have now and achieved success through failure. Now, here's your host, Nick Baldwin.
Hey everybody, it's Nick Baldwin. We're back with another episode of Real Estate Rewind, and today we have got a really special guest, one of my most favoritist. I don't even know if that's a word, but she is one of my most favoritist realtors on the planet. Catherine Rain is with us, and Catherine's a star of the CBS show The American Dream, and she's a real estate advisor at Keller Williams. And Catherine is awesome because she networks her way to success. She says sometimes you just got to pick up the phone or knock on someone's door to find your client, something that most agents really aren't willing to do. Believe it or not, Catherine used to be an actress and a stand-up comedian, and we're going to talk a lot about that. She is from Germany. She's ranked the number one single agent in her company in Florida last year, and it led her to selling an enormously expensive penthouse at Park Grove. She also received the company's Mega Agent Award, and the recognition that she's most proud of is the Cultural Award. Rain is a certified instructor for Keller Williams Kids Can, which holds Quantum Leap workshops to empower young adults to meaningful lives. And she loves spending the day at the beach, soaking up the sun with her husband and her two kids, but don't we all? And she says her family fires her up to inspire her to continue to work hard for her clients. Catherine, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, Nick, thanks for having me.
Oh, man, that's quite a bio you have there.
Well, thanks for reading this long bio.
No, I think it's great. You're doing a lot of stuff, and I'm excited to talk to you about everything that you've done right, and then, of course, everything that you've done wrong, because on Real Estate Rewind, we talk about the failures, the obstacles of top producers, how they essentially failed their way to the top and made really bad mistakes or just took a while to get there. And you have a really interesting story because you're from Germany and you came to America. And as we were talking earlier about your life, there is a theme. There's a main theme in your life. You were basically broke for like the longest time, right?
Yes.
But let's go back to when you came over to America. What brought you here? Because I know it was the dream of being a real estate agent, right? That was probably no. That's weird. Okay,
Oh.
isn't that every young German girl's dream to be a real estate agent?
No, Nick, what I thought about realtors, I always thought realtors were the sleaziest people in the world. So that was something that I would never want to be in my life, ever.
Got it. Okay, that makes perfect sense because most of them are. So what brought you over here?
When I was 22, I was in acting school in Germany, in film school, and I saw an ad in a magazine that called for people to apply to be an au pair for the summer. And I always wanted to come back to America. I went after high school with my sister to visit. It was the first time I was ever in the United States and my first time ever on a long distance flight. And I really fell in love with the country and the opportunities, and I always wanted to come back. So when I saw this ad, I really wanted to apply, but the deadline was 2 days from the date I saw the ad. And my stepdad said to me, why don't you apply? You never know what comes out of it. And I did apply. I got everything together really quickly, and they accepted my application, and I went to Boston to be a nanny for a 5-year-old girl. So that's how I came here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And you said that when you got to America to become an au pair, you only had $700 to your name?
Yes, I did not have any savings except for those $700. And when you're an au pair, you get paid, I believe it was back then, $128 a week. Mm-hmm. And that's all that I had.
And you slept on couches and you slept in your car for 2 weeks?
Well, that was not while I was an au pair. So when I was done being an au pair, I went to Los Angeles because you have at the end of your au pair time 2 weeks vacation. And I went to LA and I found this guy on Craigslist that was renting out his living room.
Okay. Wait, he was renting out his living room?
Yes.
Like the middle of the house he was renting out?
Well, he had a 1-bedroom apartment, so I wouldn't call it a house.
That's interesting. Okay.
And so I moved from the youth hostel directly to a living room. And yeah, that's how I came to LA. And then I decided to stay. And my mother, she was freaking out. She wanted me to come back, but I actually never came back after that. I mean, I came to visit, but after that, I was basically an American.
That's a great story. I mean, whenever you hear about anyone meeting anyone on Craigslist, it gets you get a little nervous, but you got out on the other end alive and well. So I'm glad that worked out for you. So, some of the stuff that I find really interesting in your life is, you mentioned about, because you have so much energy all the time, but you mentioned that, in the year 2000, you got really sick. You got a really bad case of mono, and it still affects your health today. And you said that you probably have about 60% of the energy of a normal person, but
correct.
You never know that because you're always going, right? So how do you maintain that energy when you're feeling, only really at 60%?
Well, I ask myself that sometimes too. It's not very easy. So when I was about to finish high school, maybe 1 or 2 years before I finished high school, I got mono, and I was at that time an athlete. I was playing tennis, and they didn't catch it right away. So by the time they caught it, I already had a heart muscle disease, and it has gotten really, really bad. So for everyone that had mono in their life, they probably noticed that they never got the energy back that they had before they had this disease. And it stays within you for the rest of your life. So I remember days I came home from school. I was basically just doing the homework and sleeping the whole afternoon. It was really, really terrible. And I did recover, but I never got 100% of my energy back. And there is many days where I'm very tired and I go to bed very early. I'm definitely not a party person, but I'm extremely focused. So this disease has taught me that whatever time I have, I need to use extremely purposeful. So when I'm at my office, for example, at my market center, I walk around and I don't really chit-chat with people. And sometimes people think I'm rude or I don't want to talk to anyone. The thing is, I know my energy only lasts that long. So I need to be extremely purposeful. I need to be extremely focused. Otherwise, I don't get the stuff done that I want to get done.
That makes sense. So you kind of, in a sense, reserve your energy for where it's most needed, right? And where you need to be most focused, in a sense. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so that happens to me at the office too. Like people want to chit chat. I'm a team leader of a market center. My agents want to chit chat, and I love chit chatting, but sometimes you're just like in that zone, right?
Yeah, you want to focus.
Yeah, and so they think I'm rude. Nick didn't say hi to me today. I'm like, Nick's really busy. I'm like, yeah, I'm busy. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I'm just busy, and you're busy too. So there's something here that I want to talk about because, like I said, part of the reason for this podcast is, so many agents have this victim mentality. They think they're never going to amount to anything. They think that, I could never do that, or they always blame other people for getting in the way. And so I like to talk to people like you who have overcome just really big life obstacles, right? And just parts of their life that someone else may have just quit, right? And so you've been through a lot of those things. And I want to talk about your father. You were living in Los Angeles and your father had an accident, went to a coma, and he eventually passed away. And so that must have been very, very difficult for you. Were you close to your father?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so, you went into a depression, and how did you handle that? How did you manage that? And how did you come out from that a stronger person, in a sense?
It was very difficult because I was very close to my father, and it was one of those things that you hear from other people and it never happens to you. I just got a phone call from my grandmother one morning, and she told me that my father had an accident and that he's in a coma. And it was a complete shock to the whole family. And I had just gotten a really good job as a translator, a 2-week assignment. And I decided, because he was in a coma and the doctor told me that he is in this artificial coma for at least 3 weeks, to finish this assignment. So I kept myself very busy. And when I finally flew to Germany to see him, I spent several months in Germany. The 6 months that he was in coma, I was almost the whole time in Germany, but I kept myself busy. I worked several trade fairs. Actually, the day he died, I took an assignment to work another job starting the next day, because for me, I don't grieve very well. I like to distract myself with work and not to think about things too much. It was very difficult when my father passed, especially the financial aspect. Not only was he gone as my father, which was heartbreaking, but I was also financially extremely, how do you call it? I mean, I couldn't really work in the beginning a lot because I was depressed, although I tried to distract myself. But financially, it was very tough on me. And that has taught me a very, very big lesson, because my father was an engineer. He saved his whole life. He had a really good job. He lived very frugal, and yet he left us with almost nothing. And when I was in this situation, I was just thinking to myself, I never want to put my children in this position, ever. And ever since that day, I've been working very purposefully to provide for my family. So if something was to happen to me, God forbid, I know that my children are well taken care of. And that's for me extremely important. And then the other thing that I got from this experience, my father was such a happy person. He was happy with so little things. He never stepped foot on a plane. Can you believe it? I mean, he was an engineer and he never traveled the world, but he was happy with taking the car and driving to Italy. That was his vacation. That made him happy, those small things. And sometimes you don't need a lot to lead a happy life. He was extremely simple, and he had a huge sense of humor, my father. I mean, at his funeral, there was like over 250 people, and my father lived in a small village. I remember walking up the path to the graveyard, and I turned around and I saw all those people lining up. And I was just thinking, my God, my father lived in a small village and he left this huge legacy. And people are still talking about his jokes. And that really inspired me then to start comedy.
Yeah, I was going to get into your comedy, but that's a good segue.
So my father made the funniest jokes. So people still tell me stories about my father where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah. So let's talk about your comedy. So your dad was a funny guy, so it runs in the family. You started doing comedy when you were in LA?
Yes, when I was in LA, I started doing comedy, and I pretty quickly got discovered, and I started performing at the LA Improv and at the Comedy Store. Mm-hmm. And it was fun. I really, really loved it. It was really my passion. I was talking about how I came to this country, how I was an immigrant, how I went on Craigslist to find anything.
Yeah.
And it was really a huge passion of mine.
What was the joke you told me when we were at the conference? We were at the Glover conference. What was that joke you told me?
You want me to say that? The one with the toilets?
I can't. Is it not PG? Is it not PG?
No, it's not PG.
Okay. Then we'll save it for the director's cut. Okay, gotcha. Okay, but yeah, I remember it was funny though. So I have to say that like she is very funny. I was gonna say like your life is kind of like it could be like a sitcom. You could have a reality show about, you know, coming here and living on couches and doing comedy.
Did you know that when I stayed at the youth hostel when I first came to the United States, my roommate died of an overdose, and I didn't notice. I didn't notice for like 3 days.
You didn't notice for 3 days that your roommate was not alive?
Responding.
Was she in another room?
No, in the same room. It was a guy.
Yes. He was just laying there?
Yeah, he was just laying there.
Okay. I'm not going to ask any more questions now.
I've had very interesting experiences, let me tell you that.
Holy moly, this is a good one.
I even remember when I came to LA, I remember the first meal I've ever had. Do you know Cantor's in LA? Fairfax and Melrose, Cantor's?
Yeah, Cantor's. Yeah, I love
that.
Cantor's.
That was the first place I ate, and I remember looking at the menu, and I picked the cheapest item on the menu. It was $4.30. It was pasta with tomato sauce.
Wow. I love Cantor's Deli because I lived in LA for a while. I loved it there. So you did comedy. You got accepted to UCLA on a tennis scholarship, but you couldn't go because they only were going to give you like a 70% scholarship, right? So you weren't going to get
Correct.
the whole thing. So you couldn't go. I know that you were really into sports. And so what was that feel? That must have been so crushing, right? Like it was a great opportunity. And so how did you handle that?
That was just, I didn't even ask my parents if I can take that scholarship. I just knew it was not in the books. So I just moved on. It was not that I sat there and cried. It was just something that was not possible for my parents to afford. So now I'm thinking, if my son would have this opportunity and I would know that I won't be able to give him this opportunity, it would crush me as a mother. So now looking back, I took it actually really well. But I knew I want my children not to have this thought. I want them to do whatever they want to do and whatever they want to accomplish in life. I want them to have the opportunity. And I didn't want money ever to be the issue.
So you had your first son in 2009 and you were like, listen, you're like, I don't want them to have to go through this. I got to find a career that is going to make me financially stable. So in 2011, which was probably the worst time to get into real estate, you're like, you know what? Let me get into real estate. So you got into real estate in 2011. Never looked back clearly because you're doing really well. So you had a broker who told you that you're never gonna succeed.
Yes.
And why did he tell you that?
Because we had a different outlook on lead generation. We had a different outlook on how I do my business. And that person was just convinced that the way I do business and the way I find my clients is not going to work on the long run. That person thought it was going to work for 1 or 2 years, and it was basically just luck.
Interesting. Okay. So let's get into then how you lead generate. How did you build your business?
Most of my business is referral, repeat business, or agent referrals. I'm very strong on rubbing bellies with people. I like to look people in the eye. I do not like very much if people just call me up that I don't know. Of course, I have those now a lot too, those kind of leads. But my favorite leads are someone that calls me and says, hey, I've been referred to you by so-and-so. And I'm extremely purposeful with my past clients. I check in with them. I take them for lunch. I take them for dinner. And yeah, sometimes I just have one lunch a day, and that's my only touch with a person per day. But that touch gives me a much higher return than calling 200 people cold.
Okay, so do you have lunch or coffee, or do you see a client every day, or do you try to do that every day?
Yes. And if they're not in town, or if I have some new clients that call me, I always make a point of talking to them on Skype, because I feel a lot of emotion and a lot of confidence and a lot of interaction gets lost over the phone. And I'd like to look people in the eye. It's a very different interaction when you see someone's eyes and you talk to them face to face, even if it's just over Skype, than to talk to people over the phone or text them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. We've lost touch of the human-to-human interaction behind text messages and emails. And I love that idea where, even if you just do it on FaceTime, really, could you do it on FaceTime on your phone? Yeah. That's great. Okay, so you built your business on just creating relationships, sphere of influence. I talk
to everyone. To everyone. I'm like the worst. When I go into an elevator with my husband, he always says, please don't talk, please don't talk, please don't talk. Because I talk to anyone. I did when I was at my market center. Now I have my own mega agent office. But when I was at my market center, we have a UBS in our building. And I would always make a point of having my laptop in my hands when I leave the office and have one of my flyers on top of it, right? So that everybody knows what I do. And I've gotten the head of the sales department started talking to me. And I gave him my card, he gave me his, and he put me in touch with one of his people. And we built a relationship. So now we're sending referrals back and forth. So you never know where you can meet people. I met people at gas stations.
You know what else I love about you? You go anywhere. Like, you make it a purpose to just go to events and network with other agents. you recently came up here to Detroit for our Lab Coat Agents One Day event. You weren't even speaking, so and you just came up and just like, hey, I'm coming up to Detroit to go. Really?
It was awesome. It was
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah. You went to Traverse City, Michigan a couple months earlier. You know, I like that you like to be in the thick of it with other higher level people, which is really important. I'm sure that, you know, you get some referrals that way too, I would assume.
I do get some referrals, but that's not why I do it. I thrive on learning from other people. I think that's what keeps me most motivated to, sometimes you have to take an airplane to learn from other people because the people around you just cannot teach you anymore. So I've learned that when I go to those conferences and I surround myself with the people that I admire and that I aspire to be, I become part of them. And never in my life have I, even when I was really broke, envied people that had more than I had. I would always go to them and find out what they did so I can achieve the same or even more.
I think that's a really important point and that people should listen to, because unfortunately social media specifically has caused us to, first of all, believe everything we see, believe everything we hear, believe everything we read, and we compare ourselves to other people constantly. And I catch myself doing it sometimes too, like, oh man, I'm working really hard. Why can't I be like that person? But, you know, the only person you're in competition with is yourself.
It's really yourself. Correct.
And so, you know, you became successful, very successful, the number one single agent in Florida in 2018 with 35 million in volume, you know, but it wasn't something that happened overnight. So you just recently, you know, started a small team, right?
Correct. Yes. It's going sometimes well, sometimes not so well.
No, it never goes super smoothly. Nothing ever goes super smoothly. Yeah. So, you know, talk about, before you got to that, talk about the early days, right? Like, what was your first year like in real estate? My
first year was very painful. I cried a lot. I cried almost every day.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I was just thinking, oh my God, this is like the worst job ever. Although, you know, my very first client I met, because I didn't know anyone in Miami, I didn't know a soul. So right. I talked to anyone I met. The first client I had ended up buying several houses with me. And I think I made on the first client like $60,000.
Okay.
So I was like, wow, I like this.
Yeah.
So, but after that, it went a little bit down. And I was crying a lot because I had friends that I would show houses for months and they would end up buying with another realtor. So I learned that in this business, there is absolutely no loyalty. And I self-pitied myself a lot. I complained. I remember I wanted to file complaints against people and all that kind of stuff. And now when I see on pages, even on your page, on Lab Coat Agents, people are always like, oh, my neighbor listed his house with someone else. I'm like, okay, you need to get over it.
Yeah.
Because
move on.
There's not just one client. Find the motivated, right? There is always someone else out there. And if your neighbor didn't list with you, probably he didn't see the value in your service. Or if your past client bought a house with someone else, you probably didn't nurture him enough. If a buyer ends up buying with another realtor, shame on you. You didn't put him on a buyer's agreement. So there's always something to learn from your own mistakes.
Love it. Mm-hmm. Totally tough love right now. And when I do that, people say I'm being sassy. So sassy Nick.
No, you need to write that.
You got to be, listen.
Sometimes I want to comment on when people write that, but I don't want to be too harsh. But the truth is, you know, there's more business out there. So just go find other business. There is so many people out there. They will be grateful for your service. Why are you spending time on the seller that calls you up every day for 2 hours and whines? Drop that seller. Find a different seller. Someone that's motivated and that loves you.
Yeah, there you go. And I often feel that when an agent spends too much time dwelling on someone who didn't use them to buy or sell a house, the agent doesn't have enough business to focus on, right? So they're focused on that one person.
Sometimes they do. I mean, I remember I've had situations where I would get really depressed about this one client cheating on me. I was getting like really into it. It's almost like you're starting to Facebook stalk them and you become crazy. You get into crazy mode. And my broker in the new office, she kept telling me, Catherine, just find new business. You know what? She was right. You just need to get over that. You need to get tougher. And I think I've gotten now tougher. I still get hurt when people don't use me or they buy with another agent. But the truth is, we don't own the clients. They can go to whoever they want.
Totally right. Tell me about what your day looks like.
How does my day look like? Well, right now,
you asking your admin, what do I do every day?
So we try to not do any showings before 12 p.m.
Okay.
So in the morning, we focus on lead generation. And I do, although I'm technically a team on record, it's basically right now just me selling. I have one ISA and an office manager and a full-time marketing assistant. Mm-hmm. So between 9 and 12, we focus on lead generation. Then for lunch, most of the time I meet with a client or with a potential buyer or seller or with a developer. We meet with a lot of developers right now too. Mm-hmm. And then in the afternoon, we do showings. And believe it or not, in Miami, you have to show all of your listings in person. So I am still doing some of the showings, although I just leveraged myself a little bit on those showings because it becomes a lot.
You have 35 listings right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that can be a lot of showings of your own listings.
Yes. And I know it's ridiculous. I have to drive throughout town to show my listings. So my next hire is actually going to be a full-time showing agent for my listings.
Now, when you say show, you mean you have to accompany the other agent, or obviously if you have a buyer, you have to accompany them.
Correct. I mean, we do lock boxes on some lower priced units, like 130,000, 150,000. The only downside on that is that in Miami, a lot of agents don't know how to lock the door or turn off the lights or close the windows. And then our sellers call us very angry. And there is not a lot of intelligence in Miami.
I'm pretty sure that agents across the country don't know how to lock doors. I'm just saying.
Oh, really? Okay. So you experienced that too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. All the time.
Oh, wow. But how do you get away with that?
I mean, you don't get away with it. I mean, people are obviously unhappy, but, it doesn't happen all the time, right? But every now and again, someone won't lock a door or something. I mean, they just, in New Jersey where I would sell, we had a lot of old homes, like 100-year-old homes or more. And sometimes the doors were old and it was hard to get the lock open and whatever. But I mean, it didn't happen all the time, but I'm pretty sure that agents everywhere forget to turn off lights or close doors or close windows.
That makes me feel a little bit better. Yeah. I thought it was a Miami thing.
Well, I mean, no, it's definitely not. I think it's a whole countrywide thing. But so you started to become much more successful. You said that you track every penny that you make. You now own income properties with your husband. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so does this really focused tracking come from the memory of just always scrounging for money?
Yes and no. I mean, full disclosure, I did not grow up poor, but I would say lower middle class.
Yeah. When you were here in America.
When I was here in America. Yeah. I just never had anything like savings, right? I had I think at the best point, I had maybe $1,500 in the bank. Now, if I don't have at least 6 figures on my bank account, I can't sleep. Yeah. I need to have some money in case of an emergency. I need to be able to sleep. Otherwise, I can't. So for me, it is very important not having money, but not having money. Okay?
I heard a really good saying that reminds me of what you just said. So everybody has a zero, right? Mm-hmm. And so your zero might be, I don't know, let's just say your zero is $100,000, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say your bank account zero is 100,000. Once your bank account gets to 100,000, that's like having no money in your bank account.
Yeah, it stresses me out. It seriously stresses me out because I've had this experience. What the absence of money can do in your life, I don't want to be in this position ever again. So I love to talk about money, and I love to teach others how to make money. I do have a lot of clients, investors that are like doctors, that are lawyers, that make the money, but they have no clue on how to invest it. So it is really my passion to show them. I even teach them like landlord classes and all that kind of stuff. I want to teach them how they can grow their wealth by owning income properties and create passive income. So I was basically coming from having a bad relationship with money. Every bill that I had to pay was expensive, was this and that, until I changed my mindset. And actually my OP did a class on that. She said that, let's say you have to pay rent, $2,000. Instead of saying, oh my God, I have to pay rent, you should say, wow, I'm so grateful I'm able to pay rent. And see that as a positive thing, that you are able to do something good with your money. So now, instead of my kids, they are enrolled in all kind of after school activities. I don't even look how much they are. I sign them up for something every day because I can. And instead of saying, oh my God, I have to pay this money, I say now, oh, I can contribute value to their life. And I'm so grateful I can contribute this. So for me now, I don't look at money anymore. I look at value that something brings.
I like
so
that.
It's not how much does it cost, how much value does it bring me? Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. And, a lot of people would probably, and these are people that have the wrong way of thinking, right? Like, oh, she makes a ton of money and she can just do whatever she wants and blah, 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 blah. And people look at people who have money and they're negative about it, but you worked your way there. Like nobody gave it to you. I think I saw something you posted on Facebook the other day about like nothing's ever handed to you. What was the post that you made? Nothing's ever handed to you. Just go out there and get it.
Yeah, since I'm 12, I've been working. I was a tutor. I was a tennis instructor. You don't even want to know all the jobs I did in my life.
A stand-up comedian.
I did everything except
a commercial.
For prostitution.
We didn't talk about your cheese commercial.
Oh my God. Yes, I did a cheese commercial, hair commercial, anything on this planet except for prostitution. I even cleaned bathrooms. I did anything. So I'm really not afraid to get my hands dirty. And if worst comes to worst, I'll clean toilets again. I don't mind. It's not going to be the best job, but hey, I don't mind. Whatever it takes.
Whatever you have to do. So on your way up to the top, you said that you were feeling lonely, right? Because I'm like you have big goals. You don't like when people are around you saying that you're not going to be able to accomplish them. They try to make you feel guilty for it. And I'm completely with you. Like being around higher level people is so important, and not to put agents down, right? But so many of them don't think like business owners. They don't think like entrepreneurs. They live paycheck to paycheck, and so I love that you just got to get out of that. You got to get out of.
I'm like, get out of my way.
People. Yeah. Like, and they probably are like, oh, Catherine, she thinks she's too good, but they should, like you said, they should look to you and say, how did she get there? Not like, oh, she only got there because, you want to learn how someone gets to a certain place. And when you inquire and you come from curiosity, great things are going to happen in your life. Don't you agree with that?
I want those people to get out of my way because I have zero tolerance for negativity and discouraging people, because I feel that everyone that's on a path and that's willing to grow has a light that gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And I've always really learned and thrived on people that shine brighter than me. And those people that shine so bright, they're always willing to give you a little bit of their lights to make your lights brighter, right? Versus the people that are unsuccessful and always negative, they're trying to dim your lights. So it's sometimes very hard to be around people that are discouraging because they try to dim your light and you still have to move in the direction that you want, and you kind of have to ignore them because no one should ever dim your lights. People should help you shine brighter, not to dim your lights. And it is not always easy because people talk behind your back, people invent stories, And you just kind of have to ignore it because that's just the path it is. When you get more successful, you're lonelier. It's lonely on the top.
I agree with you 100%. And so, even for me, like I used to be very envious of other people, and I was a victim. And you are the only one who's in control of your life. And once you realize that, then things aren't so bad. So, what's in store for you coming up? What do you have planned for next year? How are you going to grow your business even more? Are you going to bring in some showing agents, but what do you want for your life in general? I know you have kids. I just have a lot of questions, I think. So let me just down a little bit. Let's start with this, right? Before I get into what's next in store for you. You have 2 children, you have a husband, you're very busy, taking 35 listings. How do you balance life and work if you are able to at all? How do you do that?
I'm not able to. I don't think a perfect balance doesn't exist. And I feel you need to get out of balance in one part of your life in order to achieve greatness in another part. So I know that I'm very career focused right now, and I am very well aware that my family is right now on second position, and I want to change that for next year. I really want to make more time for my family and spend more time with my children, because my son is already 10, and probably in 4 or 5 years, he's not even going to say hi to me anymore.
Right. Mom, leave me alone.
So for me, it's like, I'd like to spend a little bit more time with the family.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you realize that. A lot of people, it's hard for them to, to actually say that out loud. So that's huge. So next year, that's a big goal for you, to spend more time with the family, work more family time into your schedule. But what else do you have going on? What else do you want to accomplish for 2020?
I'd like to do in 2020 150 transactions and $60 million in volume. That was actually the goal for this year, but we moved to our own mega agent office, and we got a little bit thrown off our path. Let's put it like this.
Things happen. That happened with my team this year, where we were heading in a really good direction. I had to make some executive decisions, and sometimes through growth, things slow down a little bit, and then you learn from them and you pick back up. So it's totally
But I think
normal.
That's a beautiful thing when that happens, because I used to beat myself up over not achieving the goals or not reaching the goals that I had. But now I don't do that anymore. I'm like, okay, I tried my best. I still did pretty good this year. And it's a fail forward. You got to see it positive.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But this has been great. Like, I love talking to you. It's a lot of fun, never a dull moment. And the next time I have you on, we'll just, do your stand-up routine. I think that's what
I have now a whole lot of different routine, because back then I was single and dating, and now I'm like married. I have a lot of kid jokes. I have
one joke. Give us one joke.
From the top of my mind, I only know this one.
Okay, go.
I mean, I'm going to do it. You can cut it out, right?
Go. Do it.
So my mom always used to say, Katrine, men are like toilets. They're either occupied or full of shit.
That's good. I love it. So good. So good. I think that is the one that you told me when I saw you at the conference. That's a good one. Love it. But next time it'll just be a whole 30 minutes of stand-up comedy. So your mom calls you Katrine, is that?
Yeah, in Germany people call me Katrin.
Oh, God, I like it. Cool. All right. So, hey, everyone who's listening, if you enjoyed hearing from Catherine, and you feel, you can relate to her and you want to reach out and say hello and, maybe ask her a couple questions, how can someone do that? How can they reach you?
I have a website, catherinerain.com. They can also find me on Instagram, Beautiful Miami Team, or on Facebook. We're there. And one thing I forgot to say, what I want to do next year. I totally forgot.
Oh, what do you want to do?
Next year, I have plans, because I published this year a book in Germany that became
you told me. It was a bestseller in Germany?
Yes, it was. And I'd like to publish a book in the United States. At least, probably not published next year, but I want to start working on it next year. And it has a lot of helpful advice for any business person.
Love it. So what was the book that was a bestseller in Germany?
It is, I was co-authoring it along with, I believe, 24 other women. And we were telling the story on how we became successful in life. And the book is called How Did You Do It?
Oh,
Wie hast du das gemacht?
Oh, nice. Are they going to translate that into English or what?
No, because they feel that once you translate it, it doesn't, the message doesn't come across.
Language. I got it.
Yeah, with a language barrier.
Also, I might want to add, Catherine is also a moderator in our Lab Coat Agents group with 102,000 members. So if you haven't joined Lab Coats, join, and you'll see Catherine. She's crushing it with videos in our group lately. I love it. Lots of funny stories about the home inspector that found rodent droppings, and then it turned out to be lizard droppings. In Miami,
it's all about the poop.
Yeah, in Miami, exactly. In Miami, you get lizard droppings. In New Jersey, you get rat poop. There's a big difference. See, so you can find her in Lab Coat Agents doing awesome videos. And if you enjoyed listening to Catherine and you enjoyed other episodes of Real Estate Rewind, and you're on iTunes, you're on Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, Podbean. I mean, I can go on and on with podcast platforms. Just hit a button that lets you subscribe or download, because that is showing us that you love us. And leave some reviews for Catherine. Give her 5 stars. Comment and say how great and inspiring you thought it was, because that'll make her happy too. And again, we'll see you next time when we talk to another super crazy, powerful mega agent on obstacles and failures on Real Estate Rewind.
Hope you liked this week's show. Feel free to share it with anyone looking to improve their career and their bottom line as a real estate agent. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll know when new episodes are posted. Real Estate Rewind with Nick Baldwin. Real Estate Unwound.